dealing with the very real problem of illegal immigration. I'm Brian Lilly with the Rebel.media. So our politicians in the House of Commons, they're finally talking about the problem, the real problem of illegal immigration on the Canada-US border, and that's a good thing. Unfortunately, their pleas to the government are either to do more to help illegal immigrants or essentially, effectively do nothing, which is not good. Let's start with the NDP, calling on Trudeau's Liberals to rip up the Safe Third Country Agreement.
Will this Prime Minister finally act, and will he suspend the unfair agreement and support border communities and help those desperate refugees?
That's Jenny Kwana, the NDP, who wants us to believe that folks coming across the border are refugees. I don't know how many times I have to say it. If you're coming across the border from the United States, you are not a refugee. You are already in a safe country. So let's be clear about our language. These people, not refugees. The biggest crossing point in Canada is Hemmingford, Quebec, where people are having cabs drop them off at a foot crossing position. I don't know if you've seen the video, but it's incredible. They get out of the cabs, they grab their luggage, they walk across the border, boom, they claim they're refugees. Were they fleeing for their lives? I don't care whether they come from Syria, Somalia, Yemen, or any other hotspot where war is raging. There was no one behind them with guns or torches or pitchforks. They're leaving one of the most picturesque parts of the United States of America. The Lake Champlain area is beautiful. It's where people flee to, not from. Quit claiming to be refugees from the United States. You're not in danger when you're there. Now, meanwhile, the Conservative position is lacking, to say the least. For the most part, they're simply calling for the law to be enforced. But the law itself, or more correctly, the Safe Third Country Agreement, is part of the problem. But at least as you'll hear here, Conservative MP Tony Clement is hinting that there might be need for the change when he was speaking in the House of Commons this week.
More asylum seekers entered Canada illegally in places like Emerson, Manitoba, and Hemmingford, Quebec. The municipality of Emerson, Mr. Speaker, has now formally requested the government provide more resources for border security and public safety. Will the government answer the calls for help from communities like Emerson? Will it develop a plan to enforce and, if necessary, strengthen our laws to stop illegal border crossing?
If we're to deal with this problem, there's a simple fix. We need to change the agreement or how it's applied that says, doesn't matter how you come across the border with the U.S., we'll send you back, plain and simple. It's not anti-immigrant to do so. It's not racist to do so. We already accept about 300,000 permanent residents a year through our legal immigration system. We bring in 250,000 foreign students a year, about the same number of temporary foreign workers, which means that each year we bring in a population larger than the city of Mississauga. We've got a system in place. Now, the government's answer on all of this is to say there's nothing to worry about. Our system works. Except on this point, it doesn't. One of the many loopholes of the Safe Third Country Agreement is that if you show up at a regular land border crossing between Canada and the U.S., then we're supposed to send you back, tell you to apply for refugee status in the U.S. This was brought in the early 2000s, negotiated, by the way, by then Liberal Immigration Minister, now Mayor of Montreal and champion of sanctuary cities, Denis Coderre. The point of the agreement was to stop refugee shopping. What was happening was that people would be turned down and then come to Canada and apply. If the U.S. turned them down or if we reject them, they'd go apply there. We wanted to stop that. But one of the many loopholes in this agreement is that if you cross the border at an unofficial spot, like a farmer's field or a forest, we take you in. We process you as a refugee. That needs to be changed. That needs to be fixed. And we should send people back regardless of where they cross. For heaven's sakes, we're sending them back to the United States. And yes, even under Donald Trump, it remains a welcoming place for refugees and immigrants that follow the law. But what does the Trudeau government think of all of this? Not much. Speaking on Power of Politics, CBC's show of political spin, Liberal MP Mark Holland said there's nothing to worry about because the current level of these illegal immigrants coming from the U.S. is below the high point of 2008.
We've extrapolated the numbers out based on what we're seeing right now, and we're heading into about the 30,000 range. That's still well below the 38,000 that we saw in 2008. So, and this is during the Trump administration. So I think we have to be careful about sort of blowing this out of proportion.
Remarkably, no one called them on this. That 2008 high point, that was before the Conservatives brought in visa requirements to deal with a huge upswing in refugee claims that saw Mexicans arriving at the Canada-US border, pushing Mexico into the #1 spot for refugee claimants. But don't you love that answer? Don't worry, it's only 30,000 people this year. Or to put that in other terms, this is about half the population of Medicine Hat, Alberta. It's just under the population of Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and it's about 50% bigger than Brockville, Ontario. But don't worry about it. We can bring in a small city of illegals each year. Simple fact, if you don't qualify for refugee status in the US, you most likely are not going to qualify here. What the government here in Canada is doing by not cracking down on this is encouraging more bad behavior. So what we need to do is demand they stop the inflow of illegals. You can do your part by signing our petition at noillegals.ca. If you've already signed, then please share this video on social media so more people know what's happening. Now, the government can do its part by changing that third safe country agreement and send back anyone that crosses the Canada-US border illegally. The United States is not producing refugees. Let's stop pretending otherwise. So go now, sign the petition, noillegals.ca, and after you add your name to the tens of thousands of great Canadians that have already backed our cause, share it on Facebook, on Twitter, by email, however you can. Spread the word. And always remember, I'm on your side. If you like the video you just watched, make sure you never miss a Rebel video again. Click here to subscribe or head on over to therebel.media and become a subscriber.